残酷な天使のように少年よ神話になる。
In the last decade or so, there's been a rise in polarized political thought and ideology. A war against the core tenets of the Stoics and great thinkers of the past is afoot. It's an assault upon the principles of intellectual integrity. We often hear these concepts: intellectual honesty, objectivity, rational thought, critical thinking, and we immediately assume that we already exhibit them in excess. After all, we wouldn't have come to the conclusion that Hillary Clinton is a shape-shifting reptilian alien without ample evidence. Now would we have? In fact, oftentimes the evidence in our favor seems so overwhelming, it's hard to even conceive of how the opposition justifies their arguments. I mean, wake up, sheeple. However, when we find ourselves wondering how the other side could even believe something so egregious, so wrong or unethical, when we see the world as black and white, and ourselves as right, and the others as wrong, we must stop and instead point the barrel of scrutiny and inquiry at our own beliefs. Almost everything in life is shades of gray. And when we find that all we can muster are attacks of emotion and character, or find our comrades doing the same, then we must scrutinize our own beliefs, our own group, and take the time to realize that the emotionally bankrupt appeals to pathos belies only our own misunderstanding of the opposing ideology or argument. We see social media algorithms construct monolithic echo chambers on an unprecedented scale, and it's obvious that tribalism is not only expected, but encouraged in today's society. We really only have the power to free our own minds of the subjective lens society attempts to force onto us. This freedom is earned, not given, by identifying the validity of arguments, noting logical fallacies, and applying our knowledge to ideas, imagining their probable outcomes, and evaluating them. The validity of an argument refers to the deductive building blocks that make up the position. Do they fit together well and lead the audience to a reasonable conclusion? These blocks, or premises, rely on the factual truth of each other, and one false premise can invalidate an entire position or mislead an entire audience. To identify the credibility of any argument you hear, identify the premises and presuppositions and evaluate them on a factual basis. Arguments must also be scrutinized on their intent. How is the statement attempting to persuade you? Is it providing factual evidence, or is it perhaps appealing to anger and emotion? Is the arguer slandering the opposing position based on beliefs or their assumptions of the motive of the opposition? Or are they identifying fallacious thinking and ripping apart the base of the position? Note the intent of the argument and be skeptical of appeals to emotion or ethical duty. In the end, be sure to evaluate your arguments and the arguments of your opponents with objectivity.